Hello and welcome to Shelve, Store, or Sell, presented by Crushing Comics. I'm your host, Crisis with a K. I'm surrounded by a pretty big comic book collection on the shelves, but even more in short boxes that I need to go through and figure out what's staying, what's going, and what actually can be displayed. And I have a very special episode for you today because I can tell you for sure almost nothing is going to be a shelf here, but I have a whole box. I don't even know if I could lift it up on camera. It's really hefty. A whole box of Marvel Now. In fact, this box is very helpfully just labeled Marvel Now A, because I guess it's just A titles. And I read all of Marvel Now as it was coming out, and I completely read every in-continuity issue that Marvel released in Marvel Now, which is the period that started after Avengers versus X-Men with Uncanny Avengers #1 and ran up to Secret Wars. And I own every single thing in its original release trade or hardcover, whatever it came out in first is what I had. And I remember the beginning, just this thrill of seeing all their little white spines lined up on the shelf, because the Marvel spines had not been that uniform previously. And I just remember each one coming in and like loving it. So here's the thing. There are, hold on, I'm going to count and see how many are in this box. Hold on. There are over 40 collections in this box, and they each all have, between 3 and 6 issues in them. It's a lot of comics. So I think what I'm going to do is, the thing is, none of them are going to be a shelf because I purposely have all of Now together. In fact, in my mind, they're already all a sell. I've read these. They're comprehensively on Marvel Unlimited, all in the same amount of availability. I would like to move them all at once, but there's like 8 total boxes like this of all of Marvel Now. So this is just going to be a walk down memory lane, a reminiscence where I very quickly in a lightning round see if I remember anything about these and if I can recommend them to you. So the first one up is A+X. A+X was a team-up book that came out of the status quo of Avengers versus X-Men. Now it's like Avengers and X-Men are friends. It was fine. There's a couple of good stories in there here or there. Here's the second one. It has issues 7 through 12. And then here's the third one. I think there's some individual character stories in here that were okay. It started to show how good Jerry Duggan was with some of these characters, because it would be a while before he would see him on some main books other than just Deadpool at this point. I think there's a good Gambit story in there, but mostly nothing you really need to go back for, kind of frivolous. So next we have all new Ghost Rider, and this is just one collection. So this is the original, I think, introduction of him. It's called Engines of Vengeance. It's by Felipe Smith and illustrated by Tradd Moore. I loved this. I have a soft spot for Ghost Rider. I just think it's a cool concept. And, I was talking to somebody recently online, and we were saying, is Ghost Rider kind of Marvel's Green Lantern? Like, it kind of doesn't matter who it gets passed to. It gets more and more interesting the next person it gets passed to because it just enriches everybody. You can have 2 Ghost Riders, 4 Ghost Riders, 8 Ghost Riders. It just gets more interesting. This was just really, really charming. You have to like Tradd Moore's art, which has this big kind of rubbery quality to it, but it's also maybe a little bit Kirby influenced in that way, but I really love this. Next I have all new Invaders, but I just have 1, and there really ought to be 3. So I must have maybe put the other ones under I. Missing person alert. The other ones are out there somewhere. So this was an Invaders run by James Robinson. I usually like when Robinson does a lot of continuity mining, but I found this one kind of slow. It kind of just plodded along. And it had really good art too. But I just remember by the middle of it, I was like, oh boy. But the stories were interesting. And it kind of interacted with this Fantastic Four a little bit. But I mean, if you're going to read a modern Invaders, read Zdarsky's Invaders from 2019. It was my favorite comic book of the year. The next we have is all new X Factor. So X Factor is one of the limited Marvel books that ran ever so temporarily past Avengers versus X-Men as they ran out the preceding run. Only a few titles actually continued their numbering into Marvel Now. Hawkeye, Gambit, and Captain Marvel, I think, were the 3 that actually did. But this was Peter David trying to kind of repurpose X Factor and make it work in a different context. I don't know that it ever really worked. They were kind of like the hired help for the Serval Industries team. It had some pretty fun art, almost entirely by Carmine Di Giandomenico, who I actually really, really like. But I just don't know that it ever super clicked. It never really had that magic that his previous X Factor run had. So now I have a big hunk of all new X-Men. I would imagine, and if I remember correctly, they even collected, this is the Bendis all new X-Men. Did they collect the Guardians of the Galaxy stuff along with this? No, I have one Guardians of the Galaxy All New X-Men book in with this, which is called Guardians of the Galaxy All New X-Men: The Trial of Jean Grey. But since it's like Jean Grey, I'm like, it should go with this. And then the Black Vortex stuff actually did get collected in this final volume, just in line with the rest of the stories. And there's also a Black Vortex collection, but you didn't have to get it because it was collected individually in the trade. So the Teen X-Men come back. We're like, not sure why. The Teen X-Men start to like meet the rest of the world, including the Avengers, and Kitty is their advisor. Then they like switch teams and they join the Cyclops Revolution team. And so then they start hanging out with X-23. And then Jean Grey goes on trial because like, what if she could become the Phoenix again? And so then they deal with a bunch of like timeline stuff, and then they go to other universes, and then it ends. I was not very impressed with that run. I can't say that I'm a fan. I don't love the way that Immonen even penciled it, even though I know he's one of the greatest pencilers and everybody loves him. I didn't even really work for me all that much. I didn't really get the point of the Teen X-Men. It didn't seem like there was a driving force behind them. Now, in retrospect, I can kind of look at it and go, we needed to like reestablish who these characters were beneath, like what they really were and originated as, and see that in the modern context. So we couldn't just always say, well, that was the Silver Age, that was the Silver Age. And in that way, I am kind of thankful that Bendis took the time to do that, because it kind of reestablishes the core of who they are, which I think made each one of them stronger as they've been subsequently written in other titles. So I do give an amount of thanks for that. I don't think it was a complete catastrophe, but it wasn't for me. I don't generally want to see the original 5 in an X book anyway. Like, I don't think they really hold a lot of charm together at this point, so many years down the road from Silver Age and also from X Factor. And then just like throwing in, X-23, and also, I guess, did Bendis even bring in Bloodstorm from the Mutant X by the end of this, or was that purely invented in the next run? I don't know, but it just never really clicked for me. And I feel like if you're going to have X-Men, you got to feature X-Men, the wide, diverse, amazing group of characters that comprise the X-Men, and not just kind of retread that all the time. Next up, we have Amazing Spider-Man. This is, okay, so mostly in Marvel now, up until 2014, there was Superior Spider-Man, which I guess was another one that maybe the numbering started just before Marvel now. And that was the Otto as Spock. We call him Spock, because it's Otto Octavius as Spider-Man. And then in 2014, Spider-Man came back. I seem to be missing a volume 1 here. I don't know what that's about. I have a 2. I have a 3. I don't know. So again, rogue book somewhere. Missing person alert. So one of these people, as much as I'm not a big Down Spot fan, I kind of just liked him on Spider-Man, because Spider-Man should just be its own enjoyable thing. I don't need it to reference a lot of continuity. I just need it to be effervescent, and he has got to be funny when he's in the costume, and I just need the plots to flow. And Sop did that for me. So there's the first few issues, which was kind of like Peter Parker's like, I'm back in my body. Am I really me? Then they start setting up that they're going to go into and do the Spider-Verse thing by setting up some Moreland stuff. And then there's actual Spider-Verse, which is also collected in the Spider-Verse hardcover. I really like Spider-Verse. I'm not always a big fan of like gather up all of these characters of a certain ilk or type or whatever and then kill them all. Like, that sometimes pisses me off. But Spider-Verse was really, really fun. And of course, it gave us Silk. Oh, that's what's happened. I might have put that first volume with Silk, because it's like where Silk debuts. Who knows? So yeah, I enjoy that. I like Spider-Verse. I recommend it. It's nothing like the movie. Don't think you're getting the movie other than like it's multiversal Spider-Man, but it's got Silk, it's got Gwen, it's got the SPRDR, the robot, it's got Spider-Ham, it has a lot of Noir, it has a lot of those characters. Punk Spider-Man, Captain Britain Spider-Man. So then there was this last one, Graveyard Shift. I remember this is when I was writing book reviews on the old CBR forums, and I hated this. I just thought it was so bad. I remember that there were these .1 issues, in Spiral, written at the same time by Jerry Conway, and they were so much better. And I was like, why is Slott writing this like little end run of Amazing Spider-Man issues that are so incredibly pointless, when Conway's little mini run of the same time is amazing? Just have Conway write Amazing Spider-Man. Alas, it didn't come to pass. And then we have this Edge of the Spider-Verse book, which has the issues that highlighted all those characters for the first time, including the debut of Spider-Gwen. I remember reading this on my futon in my attic back in Philly and being like, this has got some punk rock energy to it. I like when characters are musicians, but you got to get it right. I mean, I've never been in a punk band. I have a song about being in a punk band, but I was not in a punk band. And, but there's just a certain feel when you're gigging and you're playing your local shows, and sometimes the green room is just this like awful basement that smells like piss. There's just a feeling. And I think that that book actually captures it really well. Next up, we have Amazing X-Men. So this is what Aaron spun off of Wolverine in the X-Men after he wrapped up that run. Actually, I think the end of this maybe ran alongside of that for a couple of issues. So this started out as like a Nightcrawler feature book. It was like, hey, let's go get Nightcrawler back from heaven. And then it kind of just became this like classic X-Men team. Look at this lineup. I'm trying to look at it because I don't totally remember. It's Storm, Nightcrawler, Colossus. So you've got that trio of like Claremont goodness there. Iceman, who doesn't usually mix up with all three of those characters at once. Rachel Summers, which again kind of like bridges from Claremont, but then also Excalibur, but she's also like a newer generation of character. And then North Star from Alpha Flight and Firestar. And this is maybe the first time Firestar had ever been like an ongoing team member of X-Men. And it was just really fun. Aaron immediately left after the first arc. Oh well. And Kyle and Yost, who wrote X-Force and all the Academy X stuff, right from this point. And this was really enjoyable. It was fun. They fight like the Wendigo. They have a thing with Juggernaut. It's all super enjoyable. If you're just looking for like fun X-Men where you don't need to know a lot of continuity and it's just like, let me have fun with characters that I recognize, that actually is a really good one for that. So next we have Angela Asgard's Assassin. I think I liked this a lot. It's co-written by Gillen and Marguerite Bennett when Marguerite Bennett was kind of really up and coming. Since then, she's kind of settled more into doing Animosity for, what is that? Aftershock has Animosity and some other stuff. But for a while, it really seemed like she was going to break through at Marvel. And Stephanie Hans on some of this art, who had done some of Journey into Mystery with Gillen and would go on to illustrate his Die. This was good. I don't really like the stuff that comes after this in like Secret Wars and then in All New, All Different, but this on its own, I think, was entertaining. Right? Because it's like, there's like a thing with Loki and somebody gets kidnapped. I really liked this. I really, really enjoyed this. And this came necessarily pretty late in Now, because it's after Original Sin, which was pretty late in Now. Okay, so then we have Ant-Man. So Ant-Man just had like a super brief run. He's one of the titles that basically launched really late in Now in 2015 and then immediately has to get rebooted into All New, All Different. So there's just a few issues of Nick Spencer doing it. This is what Nick Spencer is great at doing. Characters that are kind of good, kind of bad, quipping all the time, small time, who make little mistakes. Even their biggest mistake would be a little mistake to any other hero or villain. He's the best there. Oh boy. So now we get to the Hickman section here. So here we have Hickman's Avengers right up until time runs out. So I probably have time runs out like behind all the Avengers. So this is, he has the whole thing on Mars with Ex Nihilo. That's really fun. It's got Jerome Opina on art. Amazing. Then there's kind of just like the Avengers going around doing Avengers-y stuff, which it feels like the run needed more of. That's always my complaint. I wanted more of this collection in the run. There's this thing, they go to Madripoor, they gamble. It's just like a lot of low-key stuff. And I feel like after Infinity, Hickman was so exhausted that he relegated that to Avengers World. And I really like this. So then, actually maybe some of that's in this one. So then it like builds up to Infinity. And this actually maybe also has the actual Infinity issues in it. I don't know. Hold on. No. I got it. Okay. So this had some lead up to Infinity. Still really enjoying it. Still totally on it. Then I still have this in the wrapper, which is the actual Infinity issues, 18 through 23, because I read them originally in my armchair that I missed so much that we didn't bring with us, in the Infinity hardcover. So I never had to unwrap this because it was double dipped. So then I love these soft touch covers. And you know what they've maintained really well? These have been on a lot of bookshelves. They've traveled around the world. They really don't take dings. They have this really nice soft matte finish. They don't really have any kind of shine. Like, look at me trying to get a reflection off of this. Nothing. If only I could find a nice face finish or my glasses. Wouldn't it be nice if my glasses didn't reflect like that? But then he like plays with this like alternate world stuff. I'm like, I start to get bored. I know Freya really, really loves this one. Then they do Original Sin and I'm not really into it. So yeah, that's when I started falling off. So what else is in this? So next we have, here's Amazing Spider-Man #1. This just got mixed in. Oh no, but this is Amazing Spider-Man 1.1. So we still have a missing person. This was like one of those stories that gets like interspersed so they can sell more comics. I think they use this to kind of establish the period that Silk came from, but it just is like to remind us of the 60s. It doesn't actually have Silk in it. So it was like, what is the point? So next alphabetically is Avengers AI. This was such a strange series. It was after Age of Ultron, and they were like, what if we took all of the robot-y Avengers and just put them on a team? It had its moments. I didn't love Sam Humphries in this period. I feel like he went on to be much more successful at DC. I don't know if he ever truly vibed with Marvel, but this, I mean, it was fine. It just, there's no thing I can say like, oh, it's this. Like, it had Iron Man, I guess. It had Victor Mancha. It had a Doombot. It had Vision, but it's just really hard to say the run was this, which makes it hard, to recommend. So then we have something I strongly recommend, which is Avengers World. This should be in the Hickman omnibuses. And it's not, or there should be a companion, because basically what happened is Hickman wrapped up Infinity. He was like, I cannot triple ship every month, because he was at the time double shipping Avengers and then single shipping New Avengers. So he was like, the side stories are going to move into Avengers World, and he co-wrote the first few, and then he turned it over to the very capable hands of Nick Spencer and Al Ewing, like you could do worse, to basically tell the story. And it turned into this like 13 or 14 issue mega story of them kind of just doing all this stuff and going all over the world. And like, these should have been the alternating issues of Avengers. Avengers should have just had 14 more issues or that were these, or that alternated the A plots and those issues I didn't like with this stuff. It was always meant to be together. You can make the argument that at the end, it kind of runs out of steam a little bit, blah, blah, blah. But like, this first run was meant to be the thing that fleshed out his Avengers, and we all are worse off for that not happening. So highly recommended. If you've read the Hickman run, you think, I'm all out of Hickman, I wish there could have been more. There is more. Go into Marvel Unlimited and read this Avengers World. I think maybe they did a complete collection too. So then at the end here, we have the time runs out stuff. So basically, this always will make me laugh. At the end of Avengers, after that original Sin arc, Hickman's like, it's the end game. We're going to fast forward 8 months to like set up actual Secret Wars. I don't have time to write any more middle stuff. And there's just this explicit order between Avengers and New Avengers, so you almost have to read them together, but they didn't. They just kept coming out bi-monthly. And he had done the same thing with Fantastic Four and Future Foundation. It doesn't really work, because unless it's just perfect one, when you go back to it later, it doesn't make any sense when you're trying to read a Marvel Unlimited or whatever. And of course the books never say tune in next week to this issue the way a classic crossover like Inferno would. So it's kind of just like, why didn't they just relaunch it as Avengers or Avengers Time Runs Out or whatever? Now in the X-Men world, he seems to really be on top of that, and he makes it kind of feature across the whole line, and every title is its own thing, but you can kind of see all the titles line up. And I just think it works so much better that way than when you try to just intershuffle all of these series in this official, unofficial reading order that gets like lost to the ages as soon as the press releases go away. So I don't like this run. I'm not satisfied with how this ends. You've seen me talk about in the channel. And then I did have one OHC in here, which is called The Amazing Spider-Man, Who Am I? Who is he? I don't know. It's still in shrink wrap. It was an Infinite comic first, which was this Marvel thing they were doing to try to get people, I guess, to sign up for Unlimited, because the things came out initial release on Unlimited, and then later they came out in collected edition without ever being a physical, or maybe they did do like a physical comic for some of them. So I probably actually read it digitally, and then I just never cracked the book, so I'd read it digitally. So that's not all of the A's. Oh, see, that's why I didn't have it, because it doesn't quite fit in a short box. That's annoying. So that's all of the A's of Marvel Now. No, it's not all of the A's, because I saw that the next box also starts with A. So there must be some other Avengers nonsense. I can't think of what else would be after Avengers. U, V, W, A, W, A, X, A, Y, A, Z. No, it's probably just Avengers. But I remember all these books. I read all these books. I wish they were in my modern age of like keeping everything in my spreadsheet, because then I would have like a comment and a rating and everything for every issue from all of Marvel Now. I just don't see me reading them in physical format again, though. I mean, I've read them all once, and at the time, I was not a digital reader. I mean, I would wait with bated breath for the packages to arrive, first from Amazon, and then from cheap graphic novels, then later from IST, because, like, this is what I did. The trade paperback came out, I read every single one, I updated all my guides, I did it. But now, I don't know if I want to reread all of it. Like, there's some of it that I just have no interest in revisiting whatsoever. Some of it I've read 2 or 3 times at this point, like Hickman, and it just seems like somebody who really wants these on a shelf could have them on a shelf. When I think about how much room 7 or 8 short boxes would take, we're talking about like more than 8 of these. And I just can't see me devoting more of 8 of these to Marvel Now anymore. I don't know. I just can't see it. So who knows? I mean, there's many more boxes of this to come. I'm going to, spread them out. We're not just going to do Marvel now unlimited, constant barrage, unless you all tell me that that's what you want. I mean, I can be swayed by your comments. And so over time, you'll get to see me speed review through the rest of Marvel Now, which is one of the many things in my stacks. So this has been an episode of Shelve, Store, or Sell. And these are all going back to store, although eventually on the road to sell. Tune back in for more comics content like this on this channel. Please, if you have a moment, just like, subscribe, do all those YouTube things. It really does help, especially when you look at the analytics and the data. And I believe, data or it didn't happen. So do all those things. But most importantly, thanks for hanging out with me and finding your way through my collection along with me here halfway around the world from where it began. Until I see you again, I hope that you are well.